If you've been anywhere in the AI space and hearing about this, you should have been able to hear about Autogpt. You can actually go on Google and just search the word Autogpt. That's going to take you to Autogpt GitHub. That's exactly where you want to click. Once you click there, this is Autogpt, and you're going to actually want to fork it into your own repo, and then you can work with it. In short, what Autogpt is all about, it's an experiment that is based on GPT-4, but it's so much more than that. And here's why. Because Autogpt is a powerful and cutting-edge AI tool. Even though they're based on the same GPT and ChatGPT that we do know of, they are significantly different. Their functionalities are different. How so? Primarily, the difference between both the Autogpt and GPT-4 is the autonomous aspect of it, which is why it's called as Autogpt, without the need for human agents. Whereas ChatGPT requires you to give you an input. So you always do need that input data driven. So this is something that's really groundbreaking, because this is what we would call as AGI, general intelligence, or just on the precipice of it. So without much of delay, let's just jump into some few daily tasks that we can do as non-coders and how we could actually make use of Autogpt in our day-to-day lives. Autogpt starts up on the terminal, and I already have it set up. We're going to be doing it on PowerShell because you're on a Mac. So I'm going to be using PowerShell, and since I need to add it, so I'm going to be first doing is go to my folder, and then we're going to do the first most basic thing is just activate Autogpt. So now we have Autogpt activated. You should, without doing anything, it should just default to the previous one that you were already using. In this case, I was using something else, so I'm not going to go for that. I'm going to say no. And then what it does is Autogpt is going to say that enter the name of your AI. If you don't give a name, it's going to just go with the default, which is going to be Entrepreneur GPT. For the purposes of this one, we have something in mind, and that's going to be to create a daily task. What do I mean by that? Well, Autogpt is really good at two things. One is that to get research, and one is for us to actually explore and build up new skill sets. So that can be really helpful, because the research part where Autogpt can do that, that's amazing. But sometimes we might also need it for our own things. Like, say, for example, content creation, ideation of the content, email drafting, creative writing, language learning, social media captions, just some of the ideas, and also resume and cover letters. What I'm going to do just now is I'm actually going to be calling this specific one, as I mentioned, a resume writer GPT. I'm going to just have this over here. So we have it called as resume writer GPT. And now again, we would have to allocate the task, and then it's going to ask for some goals. So typically Autogpt runs on 5 goals. Those are the 5 prescribed tasks that you want Autogpt to run and to give you some information. Another big thing why Autogpt is so huge is that we do know that ChatGPT and GPT-4 do have plugins which you can use to access the browser, which we don't have access to yet. But with Autogpt, you can actually instruct the bot to go and fetch information from various different websites, whether it's YouTube or Google or any other places, and it can actually do its own decisions, and it can give you some skills. So I'm going to now go ahead and put the first task, which is going to be examine existing files in the source directory to extract information relevant to resume and cover letter writing. So I just want to make sure that we have something that's usable. So I'm just putting out that one. And then the next one I'm going to have is conduct a research on best practices for writing resumes and cover letters, gathering information from credible sources. Then the next one we're going to say document the collected information in MD files. So MD files is the markdown file format, which can be accessible in the text edit format or in the terminal. So if you are not so sure about terminal, you can also use it in text edit. I'm going to put the 4th one, which is going to be continuously assess the quality and overall guide the user. So the 5th one is going to be this one. And now we have the 5 goals prescribed for resume writer GPT. Now we're going to go on, press thinking. And this is where it does its fine print work. As you can already see, it's thinking. Another thing I want to mention is that the information process is going to be using your API key. So you would want to have your API key and a couple of other APIs as well. The instructions of all that is there on the GPT page on the GitHub, so you can actually go ahead and read that. I'm also going to be making a video in depth for non-coders like us, how we can actually easily get it installed. It's not super difficult. You can actually use GPT-4 to help you out as well. Well, as we were speaking, Autogpt gave us some replies. So I'm going to just zoom in on here so we can actually see what we are going with. This is what's happening with us. Now it's said that I will conduct a Google search to find information on the best practices for writing professional resumes. This will help me gather information from credible sources and provide useful user information on crafting their own resumes. So now Autogpt is creating a task. Now this is where GPT-4 is not that as powerful, but I feel like with Autogpt is just pushing it further up. And then you just have two tasks or a third one. The third one is a user feedback. Sometimes you have to be careful because it could run you into an error. But for this one, I wanted to go for the next task. So we have the next action, which is a command equals Google arguments equals input best practices for writing professional resumes. I'm going to just press on Y as it's saying input. And then it said command authorized by users, and it just gives us a whole range of text. Now you can do another thing here. So what you can do is you can actually take the entire list of code that you have over here, the code, and then you can just drop it in ChatGPT. We have GPT 3.5 running on here. What it does here is the exact link that you have here, which might be a little bit hard for you to see. It's giving you accessible lists that you can actually see that it's done. And then if you want to also verify it, you could also just go and click on each of the links and see. Like if you wanted to go and check on these links, you could do that. Like say for an example, I'm going to be copying this link over here. And then I just want to see what is the authenticity of that link. Because we also want to see that the links and the information we're getting is right or wrong. So this specific link from the resources and tools and topics, organizational and employee information, does seem to take us to a page that is showing us how to write a powerful and memorable HR resumes. And it's giving us a whole information about that. So that's really interesting. Then we went through all those links and we can see that we have the list of links over there on the right-hand side on GPT. Now you can use the information again that Autogpt is giving us. In this case, it's Resume GPT. I'm going to write the best practices on resume writing I found on Google to a markdown file named resumebestpractices.md. This specific file is going to be accessible where? So it's going to be accessible over here for you. If you go over your Autogpt document folder, so that would be wherever you stored it. So in my case, it's going to be in Autogpt. You're going to go to the workspace and it's going to be stored right over here. So then when I'm going to press on Y, it will successfully have created that folder. And as you can see, the folder has been created. So I'm going to now open this specific one, like I mentioned, in TextEdit. So we're going to open that in TextEdit and we can see right over here, and I'm actually going to make this super large so that we can read it. It's given us some important things that we have to look at. So a resume should be tailored to the specific job descriptions and use keywords that match the job posting according to Indeed. And the other important information that we can see: use an appropriate font size of 10 to 12 points, use past tense for past roles and present tense for current roles, etc., etc. Now, if we go back to where we were with Autogpt, we can again see what we are getting with this specific part. Now, Autogpt has come down to this specific section, which is saying that I will create a new directory named the cover letter to store all files related to the cover letter. Everything, whenever Autogpt says that it's going to store things, just remember that if you have a file structure like this for Autogpt, it's going to store over in this area, which would be the Autogpt workspace. So now I need to make sure that the directory name is clear and descriptive, so that it is easy to understand for users. So it's basically for me. I'm going to say yes for that, and then it's going to continue with that. And then again, if I wanted to take this, all the links that it had siphoned so far, and if I just dump it in on GPT over here, ChatGPT, it again gives us links. Not exactly links, but it gives us the words, and you can actually see where it's going. And if I pick any one of the links here just to see the authenticity of these, so let's click on this specific one. I just want to make sure that the information that we are getting is actually accurate to what we are looking for in this specific instance, which is resume writing. So as you can see, you don't have to be a coder to get real world benefits from Autogpt. If you're looking for a job, Autogpt is there to help you. If you're looking for any kind of help, Autogpt is there to help you. And now it's saying that use Python code to create a new directory. And I'm going to say why. And it should have created a new directory over here in the next prompt. Evaluated return, consider using .os mark cover letter, simplified code. So it's going to be making a new directory over here. Again, I'm not a coder, but for me, Autogpt is being useful for day-to-day tasks. And this is a very classic example of how we can use it for doing day-to-day tasks like finding job or job resumes. And then I'm going to just keep on going with I'm just going to keep on saying yes. So this is one aspect where you do see, as opposed to where we have with ChatGPT, where you have to keep giving information, we can see that there is a system with thoughts, reasoning, and plan and criticisms. So it's kind of like a it's kind of like an introspective way of GPT to think and evaluate with the information. The only part that we have to reply is on the last area, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm going to show you another instance where it doesn't have to be that way. That's going to be really, that I think is going to be just mind-blowing. So I had a docstring to the previous command. Let's do y. I want to keep seeing if it's actually added anything for us here. I don't think it's added anything for us in the workspace area except for only the resume. So we only just have the resume here. And this was the link from the previous one that we were looking at. And then again, it's thinking more what to do. Again, all of these things that we see here is just basically a transparent way for us to see how Autogpt is thinking and going through all the tasks. I need to ensure that the file is successful, that I can code as expected. Okay. Command write to file, returned, file written to successfully. There you go. So now, as it said, we just saw a new file that was made. This code creates a new directory called cover letter. If it doesn't exist, so it basically just created a new Python code instructing itself to create it for the cover letter. Again, as I mentioned, every single time that you're using up these prompt questions, you are also using up on your own billing on the API key that you've used for your OpenAI. So do just keep that in mind. And then again, sometimes it can also run in its own error, which will fix for itself. So that is one example of how you can actually use Autogpt for something that's as simple as resume writing, which on a day-to-day basis would take a lot of Google searches for ourselves. But now, as you can see, just in a matter of minutes, we got ourselves a text that Autogpt was able to give us, and a Python code with a cover letter, which I think is going to be working to create something to give us that is more nuanced. And the amount of research that it's doing in a matter of minutes would take us a much more longer period of time. In the next instance, I'm actually going to be using what is a bot with a voice.
Welcome back. Dot. Would you like me to return to being Duo? Welcome to Autogpt. Enter the name of your AI and its role below. Entering nothing will load defaults.
So the voice we're getting using 11 Labs API. Again, the setup of all of this is on the GitHub link, so you can actually go and see that. If you have no idea how to code, like I have no idea how to code, but still if you want to just benefit from the usage of Autogpt, you can still do it. And I'm actually going to show you two very easy methods to make Autogpt portable and super simple if you don't want to use code at all, if you want to jump right in. But for this one, let's just have our spoken Autogpt give a name. So I'm going to have it say
Language Learning GPT here. I am at your service.
For this specific one, as we can see, it speaks. And again, we need to give the same input. And for here, we're going to have the goals. So I'm going to add the goals again. The difference in this one is going to be now she or the Autogpt is going to speak using the 11 Labs API. And also the difference from the continuous mode is that it does not go on forever. You can stop whenever you think you have found the information that you need. I'm going to still do the language learning one. So now it's going to think.
I have started a new GPT agent dedicated to performing Google searches. What should I search for?
So that's interesting. So it's like the Autogpt created another GPT to send out. So it's like delegating and redelegating more. So it's like we don't have to do that much amount of work. And as you can see, it just stops at input because it's asking from me. We have two options, obviously, yes, no, or a feedback. The feedback sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm just going to go with yes because I feel like it's doing us a good job over here. So I'm going to say
Search
yes.
agent here, reporting for duty.
And now
Hello, search agent. Your task is as follows. Perform Google search.
So it's now
As an AI language model and not having any personal preferences, I don't have anything specific to ask you to search. However, if you have any query or question, I can assist you in finding the relevant information on Google.
So that's interesting. As we just saw, this is what system has given us. So these kind of parts are what you would say the thought process behind Autogpt, the language learning.
I have sent a message to the search agent to determine the target language. Please wait for its response.
So I'm going to now put a user feedback, a human feedback. So I'm going to say learn Spanish.
I will perform a Google search for Spanish language learning resources now. Please wait while I search.
So as you can see again, before we go to the next part, it's now that I put the feedback, it immediately worked its way to understanding, okay, we need to now focus on searching for Spanish. When you're doing day-to-day regular tasks that we have. And it's also giving us a game plan that Autogpt is going to work with. So it's start a new GPT agent to perform Google searches if not already started. Perform a Google search on Spanish language learning resources. Ensure return results are reliable sources. And then I'm going to press on Y to continue. And we have a bunch of links over here, as we can see. All of the links are actually going to websites that are relevant to our specific search. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be taking one of these links again. And I want to just check again how these are copy. And then we're going to put it over here. Now we're going to go over here, copy. And then paste. That's exactly what we are looking for. So we're looking for language learning, but instead of us having to go through all of these links to search for specific things, it is breaking it down and it is giving us more resources. We should make sure to include a variety of resources, including online platforms, audio, video resources. Now I'm going to be giving another input, a human input. I would like visual learning methods. So I'm just telling Autogpt that I would like the specific method of learning.
I will now perform a Google search for visual Spanish language learning resources. Please wait while I search.
Again, we have links over here. You can put all of these links back over here.
I have stored a list of visual Spanish language learning resources in permanent memory. I will use this information to generate translations and examples in a visual manner where possible.
So you can clearly see that the potentials are limitless. It's also going through the amount of work that we would normally do in 10x speed. Meaning, what would normally take me personally hours in research to find the specific thing. Autogpt is
I will
just...
now browse the Spanish Pod 101 website to find information on their subscription plans. Please wait while I browse.
I'm going to say I would like some free plans. So you can see like these small changes in feedback, they are also taking into consideration. So you just have to give like small feedback and it really generates so much more information.
I will perform a Google search for free Spanish Pod 101 subscription plans. Please wait while I search.
While AutoGPT does that, I'm going to take these over here and I'm going to put it on ChatGPT. And you can see right over there, we have our links ready to see. I click on one of the links. Perfect. It's actually crawling through each and every single website. So that is a good example of AutoGPT and some just basic uses of it. So you don't have to have it for like research or stuff. You can actually do it for basic day-to-day things. And it's really, really useful. Now, as I mentioned, if you wanted to use it like mobile, like if you didn't want to use it on a computer, because obviously these things are linked to the terminal or PowerShell if you're using a Mac or a PC, you can actually use it on a computer. Thanks to a code that I found on Twitter by Nathan Chan. You can check his tweet that he made for this specific one where I found the source from in my description below. If you go to Replete, that's the link that you would have to go based on the link that he has shared. And if you pull the request for AutoGPT over there, so you would have to make an account over there and then sign in whichever way you think is right. Since I've already done it, I should have mine over here. You can see my AutoGPT is ready to go. It's the exact same thing. What do I mean by that? So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Now this one, a browser-based one that he has put all the codes together. Now, if you click on run over here, it's actually going to run the exact same thing that we did on terminal, but over here at the bottom. And then we have it. You have AutoGPT on a browser, which can also be used on your phone because Replete has an app, and on your iPad. So now you can have AutoGPT on your iOS devices or Android devices or any mobile devices, basically AutoGPT mobile. So that is really cool. Now the next one that you could also do if you don't want to get any code is you can go to something known as Agent GPT. So that is agentreworked.ai. Again, if you want to use this one, you would need to have your own API. So I'm going to be signing in with my Google. So what you can do is you can just say test. And then I'm going to say the goal is find a new song and then deploy agent. So it's the same exact thing, but without any of the complexities that we wouldn't have. And it actually has a GUI. So it also looks nice. And the best part is our document that it's going through, you can save it in either of these ways. And because this is running on its own without the without the API from you, as you can see, after a certain point, if you do not give your API over here, which you have to put it right over there, and then you can actually, once you put the API over there, then you can add more and more. If you don't, then they're going to say that we're sorry because this is a demo, we cannot add our agents. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and put the API over there. So now that the API is installed, now let's try another one. So I'm going to say make research. Let's do research. Research an article on human rights for AI. Find topics to write on and then deploy agent. So it's saying embark on a new goal finder is right. And then it's also creating current tasks over here. So it's a really nice way to kind of give you a UI. And it's going to be using your own API. As you can see, it's going to show us your API over here. And then once you're done with that, you can actually install it as a you can actually download it as a PDF, which I do not need at this moment, but it will keep on going until you specifically stop it. So it'll keep on adding, and it's also going with the current tasks and the previous tasks. This is huge. So we have 3 different ways that you can currently access Autogpt. One is through your terminal, PowerShell, one is using Replete, and one is using Agent GPT directly from your browser. For all of them, you would be needing your own API to access it. So do make sure to run for your own API. The way to get there would be to go over at platform.openai.com. And this is where you want to go, and you're going to just log in over here, and you'll be in this page. This is where you're actually going to be seeing your API keys. So you want to go and create a new key over here. So once you create a new key over here, that's the key that you want to be using for creating and using it with Autogpt. As you just now saw, Autogpt is the next best thing that you have over here. GPT-4 is really good for research and skills, but Autogpt really knows how to segment it into 2. And again, like I mentioned, you can do so many different things to creating resumes and even more with Autogpt. Also, Autogpt can be accessible with your mobile because there is so much of potential with this. I think this just opens up GPT in a whole different way that we have never seen before. This has been there for quite a while, but I was just playing around myself to see what are the different ways that we can use it as non-coders. I have some really fun things coming up in the next few days and weeks. Don't forget to stick around and check for other contents as well. I'm also going to have some other contents over here, so you can check it up over there.